I'm a big fan of a good Honda, and the CB1000R is a good Honda. I loved it when I took it out last year, so when I had the chance to get back in the saddle the other week, of course I took it. You'll have to excuse the slightly garish colour scheme. This particular one was modified for Silverstone's Race of Legends last year, and it is loud in every possible sense of the word because they also fitted it with a full aftermarket Akrapovic exhaust system. But the question is, how loud is it? Well, if you feel like you can hear the bike through your teeth, it's pretty loud.
Yeah, the difference is if you put an end can on a bike, you'll get that note that you're looking for, a little bit of extra volume, but it won't be unbearable. If you put a full system on it, arguably slightly better performance, whether you'd feel that, questionable, but it's a bit too loud. Maybe a smidge. But on days like this where you don't live with the bike, you're just flirting with it, it's quite nice. It has its place. So Rob's just told me some of the complaints, just to remind myself actually of some of the reviews. What people are saying about it is that the rear is a bit too soft, suspension in general maybe a little bit too soft. On country roads, if you're taking it just, for a day like today, then I don't think you're going to notice that really. It's just on the sort of line of comfort. It gives you enough that you can ride it for about an hour or so, hour and a half, and not have too many aches or pains. But any stiffer than that, it's going to be a full-on sports bike, which is not what this bike is. Yes, arguably, if you take this thing on a track, you might get beaten by some of its contemporaries, but I don't think this is really made for that. This is made for the everyday rider who wants quite a fast bike, but still something that's usable. And affordable, actually. Kind of ridiculously affordable, but definitely affordable. Look at that beast. That's something special. We good?
Yes, mate. Brilliant.
Cool, I'll just follow you to the next point then.
I love a CB. I've had two of them. I started on the CB600F, the Hornet, fun little thing. It's light and it's playful, but you do need to keep it singing to feel like you're getting the most out of it. And my current bike is the CB1300, which in all honesty is a bit of a heavy lump, but that 1.3 litre engine is an absolute peach. You don't need to work it half as much as its little brother, but it will still let you chase that red line. So the question is, where does the CB1000 sit within that range? Is it the perfect middle ground? Pretty much.
See if I can actually get you to kick over now. Hey, first time! We have not been getting on today. It's not been keen to work when I've needed it to. Hello, my old friend. It's been a while. I have your slightly older, slightly bigger brother sitting in my stable. Lovely to get reacquainted with you. So it's not new to me, I've tried the CB before, but the one that I tried wasn't the Plus. So this one has a quick shifter. I don't know whether that's a standard, I'll double check that, but it definitely has one, which works nicely. The engine actually, I think came out 2006. It's the old Fireblade engine, so it's not the newest, it's just been tweaked slightly. Made to look a bit prettier as well. One of my complaints was that the steering was maybe a little light as well. There was two big complaints from me, if you can hear me over this wind and the exhaust. One of them was the buzzy nature, buzzy character of that engine once you get up to, I don't know, what are we on, 6,000 revs? Excuse me. And the other one was that the steering gets a little flighty under hard acceleration. If you're a bit brutal with that throttle and your gear changes, the front got a little lively the last time I took it out, just for a heartbeat at least. And the buzz to the engine is still there, I can still feel it, it's not too bad. I've definitely felt worse. Top of my head, the GSX-S 1000, well the Katana actually is the one that I took out, but basically the same bike. And then if we're talking about flighty front ends, I guess I'm being a little softer with it, a bit more ginger with my gear changes. what I do like about this bike is how small it feels. I mean, I've gone from a much bigger bike to this one, but it feels not quite pocket sized, but for a litre bike, the size and weight of this is very manageable. I mean, I sound like I'm a GP bike. I sound like I'm going around a track at 20 miles an hour. And the last time I took it out, I said again that the rider modes, I didn't notice much of a difference between them. I'm noticing it more this time around. Definitely between sport and standard, I can feel a bit of a difference. Same as anything really, it just feels a bit less restricted when you stick it in sport mode, which is really all you hope for. These perfect roads for this bike. It's made for it, isn't it? Now I get to show you what this thing sounds like and performs like when accelerated in second gear. In contrast to mine, I mean, mine's a big heavy lump, 1300. It's got a little bit more low down. It doesn't need to work as hard. It goes up to about 7,000 revs, and it does get more lively when it gets to 7,000. I can't remember where this makes its peak performance, but it definitely feels like you can work it a bit harder. I mean, there's no question which one's faster. There's no question which one handles better. Is there a big leap or a big difference between this and mine? Yeah. Does it feel unnecessary to make a video about it? No, because if someone hands you the keys and says, do you want to have a go on a CB1000? You say yes. If someone hands you the keys and says, do you want to try a different bike from the one you're currently sat on? You say yes. If someone hands you the keys to that X8EV, you don't need them because it's keyless. But again, you'd say yes. This tells me something about my bike. What it tells me is my bike is really heavy and nowhere near as quick as this. But it was important to hear that. And you weren't quiet about it, you are kind of yelling it. How can you not?
It's a great little bike at a bargain price. It has fairly typical four-cylinder character and fairly typical naked sports bike handling. If you want the Spec heavy review, I have that. You can check that out in my previous videos. I'll leave a link in the description. I didn't really go out focusing or fixating on the specs this time. I just wanted to see if some of my first impressions still stood up. And actually, I'm pleased to say it surprised me. Maybe because I had long with the bike, I just had a bit more time to relax into it. But everything I liked about it the first time was still there, and some of my initial reservations actually kind of muted this time. But as I say, the power to weight ratio feels there, it feels like a quick bike, and it doesn't feel like it's waiting to get up necessarily to those high revs. It's got plenty to play with down low in the rev range, and then obviously, being a four-cylinder, you can scream up to its red line and chase those revs if you want to. The handling is comfortable but poised, and the brakes, alright, they're not Brembo, but they're really nice and progressive. If you want to grab a fistful, the braking power is there, but if you don't want to be thrown over the front every time you so much as glance at the brakes, they've got that little bit of leeway, so you can build up the braking pressure pretty progressively. Either way, as I say, both times I've tried it now, I loved it. It's a pretty neutral base, slightly on the higher side of average, which doesn't really sound like a compliment, but trust me, it is.
Nimble little Honda, noisy little beggar, bargain for the money.
Thanks for watching, subscribe if you want to, click the thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra.